Welcome to the Trader's Help Desk Online Video Collection. This is a trade I'm actually in on gold. I've already taken Clipper 1 and Clipper 2. My stop is now at Clipper 1. All of the higher time frames are actually saying that gold is going down right now. You have had a magenta peak on the 720 that pulled back to the ATR and the slow moving average. And as you can see, it looks like buyers really came in strong on this bar. However, that bar is read as a seller's bar, not as a buyer's bar, because it did close downwards. So actually, as it was pulling back to the ATR, it did so on diverging volume. Now, we've also had a magenta peak over on the daily, and you can see that yesterday it pulled back to 1725 and the ATR stop is actually at 1728.8. So, and it did so on increasing volume where they were unable really to make sufficient movement to the upside. So that told me that they're going to see if sellers come back into the market, and of course sellers did. You just got a magenta peak over on the 3-minute. So I may be stopped out of this because right now the ATR stop is above Clipper 1. So it depends on whether the buyers come in strongly or not. Now on the 12-minute, you can see that you've had increasing volume on the lows. But over here on the 45-minute, you can see that you had this big yellow bar here. It's called a wide bar. Very, very high volume. Then from that point on, the sellers have actually slightly increased, but I can't measure this volume yet because we have not made a lower low. I only use this volume bar when we make a lower low. We did just have a volume divergence on the 3-minute between these lows, and they're going to test for buyers, and that's what this bar is doing right now. It is a blue bar, which tells me they are testing for buyers. While we are waiting on this, I'm going to pause the screen and then I'll put the screen back on once we see whether the trade takes Clipper 3 or I get stopped out at Clipper 1. Okay, as you can see right now, it is making highs as it's pulling back to the ATR. It's doing so on diverging volume. The previous low on the 45-minute chart was 1695.5, and this bar is scheduled to end at 6 o'clock. You would expect, if this is a spring, that it will actually go below 1695.5. So we'll wait and see if it does. This is an excellent example of time decay on the ATR. You can see that as this was pulling back to the ATR was moving towards price. The other issue is as it was pulling back to the ATR, you're doing so on diverging volume. So that's telling me that the buyers are really not interested in making new highs at the moment because more buyers would have come in. This was perhaps just people taking profits in the market, but not true buyers' interest in the market. What I would anticipate is that it would at least try to come down and test the low at 1695.5. So we'll wait and see if that happens. Okay, we just got Clipper 3. As you can see, we made a wide bar down and took out Clipper 3. So and again, most of the reason is because there were no buyers here. That was actually the biggest reason. Okay, as you can see, Clipper 3 netted 54 ticks in addition to the 36 and the 18. And this is why so many people say that volume is a leader. During the entire time this was pulling back, I opted to wait to see what the volume was doing. And that is because volume does give you a big piece of the puzzle, whether to enter a trade or whether to stick with the trade. I knew, seeing the volume as it was pulling back on the ATR, that buyers were not truly interested in flipping the ATR. If they're interested in flipping the ATR, of course your volume would have been increasing instead of decreasing volume. To me, this was just probably traders taking profits when it came down to 1695.7, but they didn't have any true conviction to take price upwards. So that made me confident in saying, okay, my stop is actually at the right level. They will come back, they will potentially test the ATR, and then they will go back down and test at least 1695.7. In this case, they actually surpassed it. So now what I would be watching is on the 45-minute, how does volume react on these new lows? I would be comparing them to the low over here to see if sellers are actually increasing on the lows, or will we get a magenta peak that pulls back to the ATR on low volume, which would actually give me another trade setup to the short side.